All right, coming up here on Chicago Bears Now, I take a deeper dive at the Bears 2025 schedule, which came out last week. What I'm going to do today is rank the Bears schedule from the easiest game to the hardest game, the way I see it. Now, just a reminder, this is the week-by-week schedule, starting with the Vikings on Monday Night Football Week 1. Then you go to Detroit. Cowboys come to town at Vegas in Week 4, early by Week 5. At Washington, Week 6, after a long delay there. Week 7 at home against the Saints. Week 8 in Baltimore. Go to Cincinnati in Week 9. Giants come to town Week 10. In Week 11, you go to the Vikings. The Steelers come to town Week 12. Could be Aaron Rodgers. Week 13 in Philadelphia on Black Friday. Week 14, make a trip up to Lambeau Field. Week 15, the Browns come to town. Packers again in Week 16, this time at home, this time on a Saturday. Week 17, a little Sunday Night Football out in the Bay Area against San Francisco. And then the Lions at home wrap up the schedule. And as we go through this exercise, I just want to remind you of this because it is an absolute fact. When you play teams matters a lot. You want to know an example? When the Bears played the Rams last year, they had a ton of injuries. So that gave the Bears a better chance to win, and they did beat the Rams. Had they played the Rams in like Week 12 when they were playing like shit, the Bears, they probably would have gotten smoked. So when you play teams matters, both in a good way and in a bad way sometimes. That's the reality of most schedules. Okay, easiest to hardest games. To me, almost regardless of when you play them, I know I just gave that disclaimer, the Saints coming to town is just a game you have to have. I don't even care who the quarterback is, Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler. That roster doesn't put the fear of God into me. Kellen Moore, first-time head coach. So has Ben Johnson, but still. That defense has some intriguing pieces, but a lot of aging players as well. I don't see it with New Orleans. I think you're talking potential number one pick team. That is the easiest game on the Bears schedule, in my opinion, especially at home. Okay, Week 15 against the Browns at home. Another game that you got to have. When you have 5 quarterbacks, you don't have one. Now, it's intriguing in the sense that by then, maybe it's Dylan Gabriel, maybe it's Shedeur Sanders. Who knows? Maybe they're having a decent season and it's still Joe Flacco. But on paper, the Bears are better than the Browns. Their quarterback situation is a mess. That's another game you got to feel like you're going to win. Okay, Week 10 against the Giants at home. Interesting spot here because this is coming off the Bears' back-to-back road games against Baltimore and Cincinnati. So could be a letdown spot, especially if you win one of those 2 prior games. But what I do like about this is that the Giants play the 49ers the week before, typically a physical game. There used to be a stat of this was a couple years ago, teams that play the 49ers, the next week their record is really bad because Kyle Shanahan teams typically physically wear you down. Now, last year that wasn't the case. They weren't as good in the trenches. We'll see how it is this year, but historically, that has been a good omen for teams playing teams that played the Niners the week before. Okay, Week 4 at the Raiders. I think this is the easiest road game on the schedule. Now, I don't think it's a layup. Pete Carroll brings credibility in there. This is not Antonio Pierce. Geno Smith is not Aiden O'Connell. But one thing we know is true, in Vegas, Bears fans will travel. That'll probably feel like a home game for Chicago, so that's a positive sign. And just compared to your other road games and just games in general, the Raiders still have some pretty notable roster holes. They're thin in their secondary. Their offensive line has question marks. They don't have a top receiver. It's like Jacoby Myers. So if you can bracket Brock Bowers and limit him, I think they'll be more competitive than they've been. But this is still a game. When you kind of go through the schedule, you're like, okay, how many road games do I feel good about winning? This is one of those that you've got to feel like you're going to win. What is the easiest game on the schedule, in your opinion? To me, it's pretty easily the Saints. I think that is, by far the easiest game on the schedule. But if you had to pick one, let me know down in the comments. 5th easiest game is Steelers at home. Even if they sign Aaron Rodgers, by Week 12, could be a little cold. November there. So that's certainly intriguing. The Steelers roster as a whole, they got DK Metcalf, but they shipped out George Pickens. That's not much of a difference there. They don't have a ton of playmakers offensively. Whoever plays quarterback is not going to be very mobile. Obviously, the storyline around this game will be if Rodgers is their quarterback, and is this his last game at Soldier Field? Certainly could be a possibility. Their defense struggled down the stretch last year. If TJ Watt isn't 100%, that defense is still good, but it's not great. I think the Steelers, and I know we've kind of done this the last few years, but it does feel like this could be the year that they take a notable step back. Okay, week 3 against the Cowboys is my sixth easiest game. I do think it's kind of a tough spot because your first two games are emotional, right? Monday Night Football against the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy's first start, divisional opponent, primetime, everything that comes with that. At Detroit on a short week for week 2, Ben Johnson's return, especially if you were to win both of those somehow or at least split those. Like Dallas at home could be kind of a letdown spot, and I still think Dallas is formidable. Like if Dak Prescott is healthy, they win more than they lose. That's what history tells us. So don't think that's a layup game at all. I do think it's a manageable one. I think they're going to have issues running the football. So if you can, limit Dak, under 300 yards passing, I think the Bears are going to be able to hold their own in that game. Plus, they're going to have injuries on defense. I don't think Trayvon Diggs is back by week 3. DeMarie and Overshown at linebacker likely isn't as well. Their pass rush doesn't really scare me outside of Micah Parsons, so just double team him. And I think you're in a decent spot. But, again, once you get to this part on the list, none of these are gimme games. So a game that you'll have to take seriously. Okay, week 7 against the Vikings. I keep saying week 7. Week 1 against the Vikings, Monday Night Football. I think it's the 7th easiest game on the schedule. I just think it's advantage Bears. I think these teams are pretty even across the board now that the Bears have a more competent coaching staff. If Ben Johnson is who we think he is, I think you feel pretty good coach for coach to match up with Minnesota. I would give Brian Flores a slight edge over Dennis Allen, but Dennis Allen's a good DC. I would give Bears advantage at quarterback since we haven't seen J.J. McCarthy play. And the fact that it's his first start, defenses typically have the advantage over offenses early in the season. Primetime spot, J.J.'s return to Chicago. That's a tough ask if you're Minnesota. I think I feel pretty good about the Bears going into that game. Okay, number 8, Week 16 against the Packers on Saturday. So first of 2 matchups against Green Bay. You get them at home. You get them on Saturday. And the prior games, big advantage Chicago, right? Again, when you play, teams matter. Sean Payton teams, pretty physical. They can also kind of play like a track meet, could wear you down a little bit. The Bears play Cleveland at home. Green Bay's at Denver. So playing in altitude, by the way, late in the season. So that's never easy. So I just think that's one of those scheduling quirks that's advantage Bears. So definitely like the Bears' chances in that game. You know the motto. If you hate the Packers, spam FGB in the comments below. FGB, FGB, FGB. And get yourself a Colston Loveland jersey at chatsports.com/Loveland. That link will be in the comments and in the description for you guys. Get your 84s on your back. Let's go. chatsports.com/Loveland. All right, 9th hardest game. You would think this would be like lower on the list in terms of toughness, but I've got it right in the middle at the Commanders, Monday Night Football. Again, I think the schedule makers did the Bears a pretty big favor here. The Bears have a bye the week before, and then they still get the extra day. So 15 days versus 8 for Washington. And then the motivation factor has just got to be real. If Bears players who were on the team last year can't get up for this game, I don't know what to tell you. You're not a good enough competitor. Like, if you're Tyreek Stevenson, you should be trying to play the game of your life. If you're Caleb Williams, what's everyone saying? Oh, the Bears drafted the wrong quarterback. You want to outplay Jaden. You want to beat Washington. So I just think the motivation factor, the extra time off, I trust Ben Johnson during a bye week more than Matt Eberflus to make the early season adjustments that probably will need to be made after the first 4 weeks. So I actually like the Bears in that spot. I picked them to win that game, and I think they got a real chance to. Okay, 10th toughest game, week 2 at Detroit. Short week, so it's tough, right? Monday Night Football to next Sunday at noon. But if you're going to have a short week, you'd like it early in the season. I do like having this game particularly early in the season, the Ben Johnson return, because that's going to be a storyline. Let's just get that out of the way in week 2. Regardless if you win or lose, Let's get out of that game early. And the reason I like this game early on the schedule, even though you're on a short week, is Detroit could be working out some kinks schematically early in the season. How is Jared Goff and the offense clicking or not early in the year? How does the defense look under a new defensive coordinator? So I'm a fan of getting it early. Don't love that it's a short week, but I do think other than that part of it, this is not a terrible spot to play in Detroit. Okay, week 11 at Minnesota. Always a tough place to play, but I've got it probably a few slots higher than I normally would because, again, look at the week before. Minnesota plays Baltimore. It's at home, but Baltimore, it's tough. I mean, Derrick Henry's going to, wear you down. Lamar Jackson got to chase him around for 60 minutes. Bears play the Giants, one of the easier games on their schedule. So that's advantage Chicago. Still going to be a tough game. I picked them to lose in my initial record prediction video, but I think that is a bit of an equalizer based on who they play the week before. Okay, 12th toughest game, week 9 at Cincinnati. I don't think, in general, this is one of the hardest teams you're going to play necessarily, but you play Baltimore on the road the week before, so you got to fly home. Quick trip to Cincinnati, but still, you got to go play Joe Burrow and cover those receivers for 60 minutes. Their defense you could score on. I expect a high-scoring game there, but not going to be an easy one. Okay, 13th toughest game, week 17 at San Francisco, a little Sunday night football. Now, I initially had this as the third toughest or fourth toughest. I actually have it as the fifth toughest. Still tough, but again, scheduling quirk. This is actually a pretty notable one late in the year. Rest is big this time of year. They play Monday Night Football at Indy the week before. Now, you're in flex range there, so maybe that one gets flexed out if the Colts are having a bad season. But the Bears, no matter what, are locked into that Saturday against the Packers. So, in theory, they could have two and some change days rest advantage over San Francisco. Now, you fly across country to play them. I get that. But that's not a bad setup for Chicago, especially if the 49ers stay in that Monday night slot in Week 16. Okay, 14th toughest game, Week 14 at Green Bay. It's just going to be tough, especially if you win the first time. Green Bay is going to be really motivated the next time. They're already going to be motivated in this one because you beat them in their place for the first time in forever last season. Also, the Packers have an extra off day, plus they're at home here. They play Thanksgiving, the early Thanksgiving game. The Bears play Black Friday afternoon against Philadelphia. Now, the Packers are playing Detroit, not an easy game, but extra day and a few hours of rest, and the Bears are coming to their place. That's advantage Green Bay. Okay, 15th toughest game, Week 18 versus Detroit. It's at home, but this could just be a very high-pressure spot, right? Maybe the division's on the line. Maybe a playoff spot is on the line for one of these teams, especially if the Bears, if it's winning in or losing out. I don't care who you're playing Week 18. That's going to be tough, and it's a divisional opponent, so I have that as the 15th easiest game, third toughest game. Okay, I debated 16 and 17 in terms of which game is the toughest. Second toughest, Week 13 at the Eagles, for obvious reasons, right? Short week versus the defending champs on the road. I mean, nothing else really needs to be said on that front. It's going to be a challenge. Late in the year, short weeks are tough, especially when you go up against a power running attack like Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley provide. Now, I'm curious to see what that offense looks like, if it looks different at all with Kevin Patullo taking over the play calling now that Kellen Moore is gone. But they got big-time players. That's going to be a tough game. But I actually think, just based on how the schedule plays out, I think Week 8 in Baltimore is the toughest game. Now, the one thing that's nice is if the Saints stink, and I think they will, you play them at home the week before. It's okay, that's manageable in terms of the week before game. But Baltimore's coming off a bye, and they're at home. That's good teams coming off a bye typically fare very, very well. It's like the old Andy Reid said. I think he's 23-4 coming off a bye week. I don't know John Harbaugh's exact record. I would imagine it's pretty good. This is Ben Johnson as a first-time head coach going up against John Harbaugh coming off a bye week. It's got to be a tough challenge. Baltimore's a very good team, So I think based on how the schedule broke down, that is the toughest game on the schedule. Yeah. Those last two will be very difficult, them and Philadelphia. Okay, I asked you the easiest. What do you think the hardest game on the Bears' schedule is? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, let me know if you're going to any games, whether it's at home or on the road. Very curious to see where you guys will be traveling. My name is Harrison Graham. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We, of course, will have full off-season coverage. We'll cover all these games during the season. We're not going anywhere. Join the family here on Bears Now by Chat Sports.